Hey there, welcome to Authentically Raw. I'm your host, Jamie Berris. A few months ago, I was a guest on the Be Freaking Awesome podcast with Angela Belford and her son Josh, and we talked about the importance of giving yourself permission. So I happened to be listening to it a couple days ago because I'm writing about permission in a book that I'm writing right now. And I asked Angela if I could possibly post it on my podcast. So that is what today's episode is. And if you want to hear the episode where Angela was a guest on the Authentically Raw podcast, check it out. I believe it is episode 11. Enjoy.
Welcome in, everybody, to the Be Freaking Awesome podcast. I am your host, as usual, Josh Belford, joining you today. And we also have our normal permanent guest, Angela Belford, who's been working on her book. That'll be coming out shortly for all you guys to listen to and read that too, both of them. And also joining us today is Jamie Berris. We have another guest podcast. I know you guys like those. Sometimes it's fun just to hear me and Angela shoot it back and forth, but we have someone else with us today. So Jamie, you want to say hi?
Hey, it's good to meet both of you. I love your podcast, and it's just an awesome opportunity to have me on. So thank you.
Yeah, for sure. Well, as everybody who listens knows, we always start with some kind of weird question. We didn't quite start with one last week. I know you guys were missing it since we just talked about how a little life updates for us. So we'll start with it today. Today, we're all going to share a few things that are on our I don't care list. Now, Jamie and Angela just got introduced to this about 5 minutes ago, so their stuff might not be as polished as a few of mine, but it'll still be interesting. And then we'll talk about who's right and who's wrong, and yeah.
Wow, I didn't know there was a test. I thought this was an opinion. All right.
So I really don't have too many, but I'll go ahead and start us off. I don't care.
What do you mean that I don't care list? Like, unpack that. Or will it be obvious?
It's things that like you just don't care about. They're not quite pet peeves, not things that necessarily make you mad or make you feel a certain way. It's literally just like, I don't care. Like you kind of don't want to deal with it. Like okay. I wouldn't say like quite annoying. Like whenever someone doesn't turn a blinker on, like that's annoying. That's not an I don't care list. That's annoying. You know, when someone smacks their food, that's a pet peeve. This is just things you just don't care about. Like if they weren't there, then you'd be fine because you just don't care about them. Okay. So my first one is gender reveal parties. And I know my older sister's had one, and she even had one where they shot off little colors and everything, and they used the color green for boy, and they were gonna, I think, use yellow for girl, and so it was green. And you know, I was only there for the free food. So.
Jamie,
Angela,
you jump in.
Yeah, whoever's got one can go ahead and go next.
Well, I do have one, and I think I don't want to come across as brash or harsh, but with social media, I don't care what you had for dinner. I don't care to see the pictures of what you ate.
Yes.
I don't care about everything you did all day long. I don't need your video story. I don't care what you're doing with who every second of the day. Sorry.
I think that extends to like this might be a pet peeve almost, when people like will post stories of like them at a concert. I'm like, watch the concert. What are you doing? I'm not there for a reason. If I wanted to be there, then I've gone there. I don't need to see your. That one's probably more of a pet peeve than an I don't care, but I also don't care. Like, I don't care what you have to
I agree. I'm going to a concert tonight and it'll be everywhere. And I agree with you on that one. Yeah. Mm-hmm. You're never going to watch that video again, probably. Maybe you'll show it to someone, but if you're really just doing it to post it, like, yeah, I don't care. I don't care.
I like it. That's a good one.
That is a good one. And I just like feel the need to like, but wait. Although I think I had a pretty unpleasant argument with my spouse at a concert when I'm like, are you just going to be here? Because I was getting into a song and he would record every single song. And Oh, and what's crazy is that it was a artist that he newly enjoys. When we married, he didn't like country music. So these were bringing back memories from high school, and I am just laughing through these songs. And I don't feel like I can sing because he's recording it. I don't know if he's going to post it. And then I don't know, like everybody's just going to hear my voice right next to it. It was unpleasant. So that does border on pet peeve, depending on who it is. Also, my husband loves to take pictures of food.
I will say,
to take pictures of
he
food.
does.
He does take beautiful ones, and no, but he does it.
He does
and
post
like,
them.
Post them
But
on
he
like
also
Google
put 'em-
reviews.
Yeah,
and,
he likes to.
you know.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh,
he does it.
That's almost
behind
different.
it.
That's almost
A little
different.
more artistic.
I'm not seeing every time he posts on Google.
No.
I do see every time he posts on Facebook, and
He has a purpose behind it, though.
And his purpose has grown because he used to post to like in a very braggy way, and it used to drive me crazy. And now we have, especially after COVID, we have a number of family members that are too old to travel, and they constantly send us messages, private messages and comments like, thank you for posting your travel pictures, because we really do get to, and we tell the whole story. I don't tell the whole story typically of my life. I was just thinking this morning, I posted a picture. Anyway, okay. I don't care. what I want to say, because probably the thing I don't care about is souvenirs from somebody else's trip. And I struggle with this because when I come back, my kids are like, did you bring me something? And some of them are not that way, and some of them are that way.
I'll say I am not that way anymore.
Not that way.
I'm sure I used to when I'm younger, because everyone likes kids just so younger. Not anymore. I'm gonna throw it away. It's gonna clutter my room more.
You haven't gotten the present that I got you for the. And I promise I got you something that you would not want to throw away. But I don't want that. Like, why are you bringing me stuff? You're just bragging about your trip. So I want everybody else to not care about me bringing them back a souvenir.
But that's a lot of work, because when you're on your trip, you're not just fully enjoying your trip. You're thinking about, I got to get somebody something. And then you just spend money on something stupid. They love it in the moment, and then they probably shove it in a drawer or closet anyway.
Yeah, if you get someone like an Eiffel Tower magnet, like it's not like they went to the Eiffel Tower, like, oh, someone comes over, oh, have you been to Paris? No, my friend did.
Right. Okay, you know what? I should have saved that answer we're going to have a gal talk about minimalism here in a couple of weeks, and I should have saved that one for that. But it is like,
we can bring it up.
Yes,
that's the only thing I can think of, because most of mine that I can think of are like pet peeves. Gender reveal party, that one's enlightening.
I don't care about a lot of the clutter that I don't say I have a really cluttery house, but I used to have a spotless home, and I don't anymore. And it truly doesn't bother me like it used to. It's not one of those things where I feel like I have to necessarily work so hard and be like, yeah, I don't care, but really it's driving me crazy inside. A lot of this stuff I can look at and I don't care like I used to.
I could think of that. There was something last night. We just bought a new washer and dryer, and when the salesperson was like, don't use fabric softener, just use vinegar. And I'm sure that you're cleaning out your washer and dryer like twice a year. I think that would rank on the I don't care, like, no, like I didn't know that was a thing, right? Like when I can see that it's dirty, I clean it out, kind of, sort of. I wasn't very good at that. So those like routine cleaning things that people are like, no, you must do this. I'm like, what's the consequence if you don't? And they can usually never tell you. Well, it just makes it last longer. I have a hot water heater that we do not do maintenance on it. I've lived here 18 years. I've replaced a couple of parts. It still works. Anyway, so
I'll give one more off my list. I do not care about your big truck. Thank goodness I don't have any friends that have like big beefed up trucks or like mods on a truck. Like, I don't care. Honestly, I don't care about your car, really. Like, if you have like a cooler car that's gonna be like different, you know what I mean? Like if you have like a Porsche or even like a Mustang, but yeah, cool car. If you get any kind of upgrade on your car, I don't care. Does it go faster? Sure, cool. I don't care. Does it make more noise? I hate you, actually. If you makes more noise, I hate you. That's a pet peeve. But if you like upgraded tires, good for you, man. It snows twice a year. All right, good. You're wasting money, you know.
Oh
And
my
like,
gosh. The slippery slope to judgment. We gotta reel it back in.
yeah, I don't care. And you know, like at times, like the Jeep that I would drive around, like it has like lifted tire, or like it's lifted and it has like special tires on it. And I'd be like, people would be like, man, you do that yourself? I was like, nope, we bought it that way. I like it. We don't care. We bought it that way, and we haven't changed it. We haven't lowered it, raised it, done anything. All we've done is replace exactly what would need to replace what it used to be. So, yeah, I don't care about your car modifications.
I like it. I think that's good because, well, we'll probably get into that. It kind of goes into that whole relationship with yourself. You know your preferences, you know what you care and you don't care about, right? Because and I'm going to say this, my husband is a car guy.
Oh no.
The louder, the faster, the better. And some people just don't care. But that's the thing. And I think that it's beautiful that you know that. And when other people, you know, so if that's their thing, it's their thing.
Right.
I think it helps be less judgmental and less critical. Hey, that's their thing. I could care less about that, but I like my shoe collection. I don't know what you're into. You're into disc golf. I know that.
Yeah, a lot of people don't care about disc golf.
Yeah, we won't talk about how many discs we have and how many get delivered to my house.
It's definitely, I think the pet peeve is where you get into that judgmental zone, and it's like the I don't care is more like, good for you, Sammy. If you want to do another gender reveal party, great. And I'm your brother, so I'll probably be there for the free food, but I don't care. Like, just tell me what the gender is, you know? And so it is like, I think it's a more middle ground. And whenever you can listen to the Waste of Time podcast, some of my friends do, whenever they talked about it 2 weeks ago, they even say like, they're like, well, do you have a pet peeve list? He's like, no, I just have an I don't care list. Now his I don't care list is like, it's my friend Luke's older brother. He has like 200 things on it. It's crazy. He's been making it for like 7 years. So yeah, that one's wild, but we'll move on. Today we are going to talk about writing your own permission slip and what all that means, because obviously you're not going to actually write a permission slip. I'm sure someone will explain to me what we're talking about.
You might by the end of the show.
Yeah, you know, I mean, this is how, as everyone knows, this is how I like to go into each podcast, not really knowing what's going on. So I can ask the good questions, the questions that someone who is clueless knows, or would ask, not knows. But starting off, Jamie, let's go ahead and how about you tell us a little bit about yourself? We'll intro there, and then we'll move on into this topic.
Okay. I am a writer and I am a life and relationship coach. And my whole background is kind of with my coaching is how to develop a better relationship with yourself, because I feel it takes care of about 90% of our problems in life. And I feel most people do not have a relationship with themselves, and it shows up in every area of your life. So I help people with the inner work. So the outer work really isn't work anymore. So I've written 2 fiction books, and I'm taking all the life coaching, and we're writing a nonfiction self-development transformation book right now.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
We'll get the names of those books at the end and we'll put them in the show notes. But I'm guessing that means that giving ourselves a permission slip is your saying. Is that going to be a motto? Maybe not a full motto, but do you say that? Or Angela, was that you that came up with that?
No, we were on a call and we were talking, and she had shared that she had a training on this. And I'm like, that's brilliant. Let's talk about this some more.
So I have a membership. My membership is called the Transformation Tribe. So we do live weekly coaching calls. And that was one of our topics a few weeks ago, was permission slips, the whole going back to school. I think a lot of times that this time of year is more transformative than January, New Year's Eve and, New Year's resolutions. And it got me thinking about permission, because so many people, okay, now I'm going to go after this goal. I'm going to do this. I'm going to embark on this. And it's something I feel like it's almost ingrained in us from childhood, that this season of, September is, let's embark on all these things. And I also started to think about my list of all the things I want to embark on. Okay, I started this membership. I'm writing this book. I've been toying with a podcast, all these things. And it involves risk. It involves putting ourselves out there. And how often we shrink back and stay stuck where we are. And I feel like it's a lot of, I don't give myself permission, but why? And we grow up obviously asking permission from our parents. We transfer that to coaches, to teachers, principals, all of these mentors or, influential people in our lives growing up. I mean, we even as teenagers ask our friends, how does this look? Can I wear this? Should I wear this? We're constantly tiptoeing around asking everybody for permission for things that we really need to give permission to ourselves. I think if we have a strong, healthy relationship with ourselves, we do not seek that outside permission, that outside validation, that outside approval as often. We get it from within. We show up more confident. We trust ourselves. And it's really about taking power over your life, giving yourself power, being accountable, having that ownership to know that I have value and I can give value as a gift to someone else. I am enough. I should be seen. I should be heard. I do matter. I do have something to give back. But if we don't have that within ourselves, we don't have that to give. And we scramble around life trying to fix and rescue and control all this outside people and all these circumstances that are beyond our control. When we develop the relationship with us, a lot of the outside stuff just falls into place. And it starts kind of with writing that permission slip. So this just happened to be a topic on, one week, a few weeks ago, but the more I think about it, it's approval seeking. It is, we justify or we give ourselves permission for something and we go ahead and we do it. And then say you're invited to a party or hang out with some friends, and it's a Saturday night and you just don't feel like it. I'd rather be home in front of the TV or whatever. And you might say no, you gave yourself permission to decline the invite, but then you text a friend. I'm feeling kind of bad. Are you going? I said no. I gave myself permission and now I'm seeking permission. Is it okay that I said no? I need to validate this decision. So before I keep going off on a tangent, I'll pause there.
I was going to ask, you are so passionate about it. Is there a personal story that's generating this passion?
I'm really thinking about two stories. One opened up our coaching call that day, and another story opened up as I've been listening to your podcast, and it's something I felt that I related to you with. So I'm going to tie this all in, hopefully. I have a degree more in the exercise science background. So I've always been into wellness, but more on the fitness side. I've always liked the coaching side of it. But, back in the late 90s, when I graduated, the whole mental emotional coaching thing was not as big. The whole big, being a well-rounded person wasn't as big. So I went more of the fitness wellness route. And I did that for almost 15 years. It was pretty part-time because I had 2 kids during that time, married, had 2 kids. And when I decided to quit, I wanted to focus more on writing, and I wanted to be in the fitness wellness industry, but add in more of what I'm doing now. I sat at home in silence and hid from everybody that I was writing books. I kind of started out with fiction, but I was dabbling in nonfiction. I wanted to be a life coach. I kept it all secret for so many reasons. I was afraid of failure, rejection, criticism. Like, why would you go do that? I dreamed every day of grabbing my computer, going to a coffee shop and just writing. I never allowed myself permission because I didn't feel worthy. I felt like I was a bad mom if I left my kids to just, I'm not out there earning a paycheck, or I don't even have enough guts to send it out there. Who's ever going to read it? So I remember asking my husband all the time, or bringing it up, not necessarily asking, just bringing up the fact that, yeah, I kind of want to do this. I kind of want to do that. I had all these ideas. I always have all these ideas, but I don't have anybody to watch the kids. And he would, we'll get someone, hire someone. In my mind, I couldn't justify hiring someone to go just work on this at that time hobby. I'm not earning a paycheck, so how could I just pay someone to come sit with my kids? I should be at home. It was constantly seeking, really what it was approval, validation, but why? Why couldn't I just say, I want to go sit at a coffee shop and write. I deserve it. I'm worth it. It fulfills me. When I come home, crazy, I might be a better mom, because when I don't do these things, I'm crawling out of my skin. I don't have any adult interaction. I'm not using my brain. Sure, I'm being a nurturing, caring mom, but can I do that and still be away? But I was it got to the point where I would start asking the kids, what do you think about having, going to daycare? What do you think about maybe having someone come over and watch you? Of course, they're going to say no. And what do I say? Because guilt fills me. Okay. And it kept me small. It kept me stuck. And here's where I'm going to tie it in with another thing. I have listened to your podcast, and you do bring up your therapy and how it has helped you, and how just things that your therapist said, and the beautiful conversations, and how you weave that in with either your guests or with Josh. For years, I knew I needed to go see a therapist. In my mind, it was for people that should be in a straitjacket and thrown in a mental institution. And I could go on about where this image came up, but from childhood, from outside voices, right, to society, from whether it was spoken directly or indirectly. In my mind, it was for the weak. It was for people that had really, major trauma in their life, tragic things. And I kept telling myself that, really, do you really need that? Are you, almost as if I wasn't worth investing in myself. And I would even bring it up to other people. I would bring it up to friends or family or my husband in these roundabout ways. Like, what do you think about that? Do you go? Who do you go to? Well, what do you talk about? I've been thinking about it. And a lot of people, probably to comfort you, say, well, you don't need it. Why would you need it? You have got it all together. Look at you. And inside, I knew I was a wreck. I couldn't give myself permission to admit it out loud. Well, it might look that way on the outside, but I'm suffering. I'm miserable. I am overwhelmed. I'm anxious. I'm burnt out. I'm an overgiver. I'm a people pleaser. I have no boundaries. I'm exhausted, but I don't know what to do. And I'm kind of angry. And that's hard to admit. I feel like I am on the verge of blowing. I have this rage inside of me, and I'm kind of pissed off at people. And I have this in my past that I'm still stewing on. I'm resentful. And I know this, and I don't know how to work through it on my own. But yet, at the same time, obviously, I didn't feel worthy enough to invest the time, the money, the energy, whatever it was. There was something deep within me that I couldn't go. So I wasted years feeling miserable. And when you don't work on yourself, this, going to therapy, but if you don't develop that relationship with yourself, if you're not healthy on the inside, if you're miserable on the outside, chances are those people around you, you're making them miserable. If you're suffering on the inside, you're probably making other people suffer. And if you don't figure out that underlying thing of why am I not giving myself permission to be happy, to forgive myself so I can forgive other people, to add value to my life so I can add value to other people's life, to go to therapy, learn how to love myself healthy, learn what self-care truly is. Because wow, I might actually love people how they deserve to be loved. I might actually be able to care for people how they deserve to be cared for. And when we don't give ourselves that permission to develop that relationship with ourselves, we don't have anything to give the world.
I really appreciate that you are being so vulnerable. Thank you for that, sharing that, because I, work with life coaches and some of my practice where I'm coaching them on developing their program and their branding. And it's so easy, especially with new coaches, to want to present the image like, oh, I've figured all of this stuff out. And then when they get in the coaching call with me, they're like, I haven't really figured this crap out. Like, I can't go sell this program. I can't do these things because I'm still kind of a mess. And I'm like, I talk often that like where you are today and where you want to be, you have to go through the forest of fear and pain. And as a coach, what we do for our clients is there are portions of that forest of fear and pain that we've traversed, and there are areas that we have gotten incredible freedom and deliverance, and there are things that we have learned. And if we can go and reach back and share what we've learned, then we can make it easier for the people behind us and our clients, our friends, who are going to have to traverse their own forest of fear and pain. And you don't have to, we will never, I say you arrive in the coffin. That is the only place you are going to arrive. And until then, it is simply a journey. But we have to, there's areas that you have learned some skills. You did give yourself permission to publish those 2 books. I am just sitting here thinking of all the people that could be listening to this and thinking, oh my goodness, I have felt what she feels. I know a ton of moms that stayed home with their kids were little that then are like, wait, I'm allowed to go after and publish this book. And so I'm allowed to go and do these things. I think that's the beauty of coaching, is having somebody else that can show you the ropes, and so that you don't have to get all of the skinned knees all by yourself, because we are going to fall down and you are going to skin your knees. And if you can skip a couple of those potholes by hiring a coach, then I think it's beautiful. But I want to break down, what does relationship with yourself, you said a lot of people don't have a relationship with yourself. It's so interesting because my coach was talking to me about this week, and then I was at coffee with a friend and she said something and I'm like, oh my gosh, my podcast guest this week is talking about relationships. So it's interesting to me when I get like billboards, and so I'm fascinated. But can you break that down? Like, what does that look like?
And I'm going to use a couple of the words that you just used because I think that they will resonate with people. And even, being vulnerable with someone. When I listened to your podcast, is it The Messy Middle with the 2 of you?
Yeah.
Yeah. So
gotten a lot of great feedback on that episode.
I love that. I loved it. And you were vulnerable and you opened up about the work that you've done, which through therapy, which is working on the relationship with yourself. And when you do that, people listen and they resonate and they relate and they think, look at how far she's come. She talks a little bit about her past or her pains and how she's worked through it and become more resilient. And that opens the doors. I can do that too. I want to do that too. You mentioned freedom. Well, that to me is freedom. It's freedom from being hooked to all that crap we carry around. I know for many years of my life, and I hope it doesn't sound dramatic, but it is the truth. I felt shame for my mere existence. I know now why. I know where it came from. I know how to work through it. I no longer feel that way. And it wasn't until I worked on the relationship with me that I could do that. One thing right now too, I think of is how disconnected we feel from each other, how lonely people feel. And look at us. We are in an age where we are connected to everyone all day long, but yet we feel so lonely. And I feel this is one thing I've been thinking of a lot lately is how we've replaced, think of being alone. When are you ever alone? Your phone is silenced or it's completely away and you are just with your thoughts. Everything is coming at us all the time. We feel disconnected with people, but I always think, how am I connected to myself? If we can't be connected with ourselves, how do we connect with other people? Because we don't show up authentic. Until you develop a relationship with yourself, like most people, they don't even know who they are. What I really want, like I like the I don't care thing. That gets people to think, what don't I care about? Well, what on the flip, what do I care about? What are my preferences? What is my purpose? Like people freak out. I don't know what my purpose is. It's because you don't know who you are. Take some time to understand who you are, develop that relationship, why this triggers you. Why does this irritate you?
I will say this, the reason why, and I had someone close to me that didn't know their preferences, didn't know those things, and didn't know themselves. And you touched on at the beginning of this, you said, I struggle with shame for my very existence. My experience is that when people are so full of shame, which shame, according to Brene Brown, is there's something wrong with me. It's scary to know themselves because they will find at their core, this is the lie that they're believing, they will find at their core that they are not healthy, not real, that they're just rotten at the core and a horrible person. And this person, they would be like, I can't go into that deep, dark, scary cave that is myself because I'm scared of what I will find there. I'm scared that I will find out that there's evidence that something is fundamentally and horribly wrong with me. So I think that's the first step, is that people have to really begin to understand that you are not fundamentally flawed. Are you going to find things about yourself that you may not appreciate? Of course. But if you don't know that, then you can't work on them. You can't change them, but you will not find in there this horror. And I think that's probably the reason why people don't know themselves, is they're afraid of what they'll find out.
I agree. And adding to that, I had to really come to the awareness of, where was this shame coming from? How did it get there? Mm-hmm. And I knew deep down, I have good values. Mm-hmm. I am a good person. I have good motives. Like, I'm right with my creator. And then when I really started to pinpoint where the shame was coming from, my eyes were so wide open. These are from people that they are full of shame and they are projecting it on me. Whether it comes from, it could be envy, it could be past traumatic things that happened to them, it could be, their dysfunction there, but it was their stuff, and I absorbed kind of their truth to become mine. Like, I believed it's that, think of, I'm just going to get a random example of something good happens in your life and you share it with two people, and one person is just, I'm so happy for you. I'm so just, that is awesome. Good. and then you share it with another person, and you, whether they say it directly that they feel threatened by it, or I mean they criticize it or they shame it, and then you feel bad for your gain because it's obvious that it is their loss. I absorbed that as, I don't deserve this. You keep quiet. You don't, if you accomplish something, if you work hard for something, you don't share that. And I had to really take a look as, that is that person's stuff. It is not mine. And I was absorbing all of that. I was shouldering it. I was not the type of person, hey, how can I support you? Here's your stuff. I thought support was, you give me all your stuff. Sure, I'll take it on as my own. And it filled me up with guilt, shame, and a whole lot of problems that were not mine to solve, to fix, to rescue. I just needed to rescue myself.
Listening to a lot of what you guys are saying, I actually think I have a challenge on one of the things you guys said. I think where you're going at it is you weren't quite meaning this, but I think it's good to clarify. Like, I think that there is actually something fundamentally wrong with every single person, and that is sin. And I think that's a little different from what you were implying, Angela. You weren't saying that like everyone's like, you are good, everyone's doesn't have sin. But I think it's good to recognize that. And I think that's actually where you can come from. Another way you can come at it of like, okay, I am fundamentally wrong. And through God and these processes and these things, I can recognize and reconcile that. And I think that can create life change, heart change, mind change, that you guys are talking about. And like I said, I don't think that that's what you were implying, but I think it's just also good to say, because I think it's a good foundation for building what you guys are talking about.
Potentially, I think that we are created in the image and likeness of God, period, the end. And are we separated? Yes, by our actions, 100%. That doesn't, there's a nuance to what you're saying, and I don't know that I'm really concerned I will bomb on trying to explain the nuance the way I see it, because I've seen a lot of trauma from people who have grown up in very, very conservative faith systems that beat them over the head for years and years and years and years and say, sinner saved by grace. And I struggle to reconcile. We are created in the image and likeness of God. We absolutely need a savior, 100%. Not at all saying that. Anybody that listens to the podcast knows that's my stand, and read my book, and I say that. And I don't think that, I think that the church has used shame as a tool to control people for way too long. And I think that when you look at what religion does to what God intended, then we get into a giant mess. And I just probably, I could go off for days, and I do go off for days, because there is a difference between saying that we are separated by our sin and saying that there is something wrong with us, because God created us, and God doesn't create junk, and God doesn't create trash. And so are we separated? Yes. Because of what happened in the Garden of Eden? Absolutely. Do we need to reconcile? Do we need to find our way back through a savior? Absolutely. And that's just a nuance. And what's hard is that whenever you are doing organized religion and you are trying to communicate mass communication, it's hard to catch the nuance. And I think that it is something that I think Jesus came for our freedom. And I think that especially once you've accepted that the act of transforming yourself, we will be transformed by the renewal of our mind. And those things making sure that we are aligned with what we are actually believe. Anyway.
No, I that's definitely what I'm like trying to say is I think what I was saying, like, I think that is the basis of the building of not having shame and things like that. Because I think that recognizing that you maybe have made mistakes and things like that, and that is almost in human nature, because no one is free of sin. And I think I was meaning it in a way that is more freeing if you can accept that, you know what I mean? Like the things that you are scared to go down, like you were saying, scared to find at the core, if you can actually recognize that that is part of human existence, to have made mistakes like that, or have gone through what, I don't want to say had to gone through everything, but to have faced hardships is part of human experience, even though it sucks. And I think that when I was saying it was meaning, like recognizing that can be part of that freedom, and not feeling shameful about it and feeling shame towards it.
For years, I used to quote the verse, why are we surprised by trouble? Because Jesus promised it. In this world, we will have trouble. We will have pain. The next verse is, but do not be dismayed, because I have overcome the world. But I've recently gotten really excited about the verse right before it, because he says, I tell you these things so you will have peace. In this world, you will have trouble. I've come and overcome the world. And so I'm like, oh, he was telling us this not to be so that we could all be worried about it, but so that we could have peace, so that we weren't surprised by it. So anyway.
Jamie, I would love to get your take on this. I've been going through this book, The Meaning of Marriage, and in it, Timothy Keller talks about, he says, a lot of people have the idea of like the soulmate, that person is the perfect fit for you and they're perfect, etc. And he challenges that. He's like, no, they're not. They are the one you are supposed to be with, if that is where you're at, and you can love them, but they're not the perfect one, because nobody is that. And so it's so easy to put that person on like, oh, they're going to fix my problems because I found my other half kind of idea. I found the puzzle piece that fits together with me. And I think there is something to that. And I don't want to like belittle how awesome marriage is in that way, but at the same time, you can't put that pressure on that person, because they're going to disappoint, because the only person that can do that is God and Jesus. And so I would want to hear what you have to say about like how society kind of views that, and like how someone could overcome that. Because I think even outside of like a relationship or like a marriage or a dating, it's so easy to look at someone else and be like, oh, they've got it all perfect. And that can kind of lead to that shame a little bit. And I don't think you really alluded quite to that, but maybe some. And what's your thoughts on like society and shame through viewing someone else?
Well, a lot of it is the comparison, but you entering into any relationship, if you think that another person is going to complete you, what was that movie? I don't know, with Renee Zellweger,
Jerry
right?
Maguire.
Yeah, no, people in our lives are there to complement us, to bring out what already is in us and is good, but they can't fix what is in us. We can't fix what is in someone else. And when we get in relationships, there's dysfunction in every relationship, because like you were saying, there's sin in all of us, there's flaws in all of us. But if we enter into, if we're going to talk marriage, thinking that, okay, once I marry this person, I'm not going to be lonely anymore. I'm going, we think all of our needs are going to get met, whether it's that underlying part of me that has felt abandoned, rejected, insecure. I listened, you also have the attachment styles, the avoidant, the secure, the anxious. A lot of times we cling to partners or enter into marriages thinking someone else is going to resolve whatever, is inside of us, or we're going to help them through that. And it doesn't work that way. We have to work on the things inside of us if we're going to show up in a healthy marriage, and be there to complement each other. Did I answer enough of that, or was there more?
No, I think that was
I-
good.
I think that marriage, like a lot of our relationships, is a mirror for how we feel about ourselves. I mean, I mostly describe marriage as a sandpaper that's designed to smooth off the rough edges. But we've been talking about relationship with yourself, and what I've learned, especially over the last 2 years, is that I can only love another person. I can only accept and not judge another person to the depth and level that I accept and love myself. And I can see vividly now how my abandonment issues, how I projected those on my husband for so many years and didn't even know. You know, I think that was the whole point of that episode, was like, I didn't even realize that that was what I was doing. And as I've had clients that'll tell me like, oh, I'm working on not judging this other person. And I'm like, why? You don't have to. All you gotta do is work on not judging yourself, because if you're judging somebody else, and I think we've said this here before, if you're judging somebody else for that they're lazy or that they don't do what they say they're going to do. Well, in what ways do you not do what you're going to say you're going to do? In what ways are you lazy? In what ways are you? Because typically, ironically, to go back to our I don't care list, our pet peeves usually are rooted in something we don't love about ourselves. If there's something that kind of annoys us or irritates us, this was the most horrifying thing to figure out, that it was like this person that just drove me crazy. And it was like, it's because I don't like it when I do that thing that they're doing. And so when it comes to marriage, it's like a 24/7 opportunity for all the things you don't love about yourself to have them reflected back in your partner. And if you believe you're not worthy, that person could tell you all day long. Your husband did tell you, hire kids, hire help, not hire kids. Sorry. Hire help. You wouldn't hear him because it didn't affirm the belief you had. So you ignored that evidence because it didn't line up with your belief that I'm not worth it. You have some people would say, oh, my husband's not supportive. He was supportive. He was trying to tell you, hire help, baby, chase your passion, go after your purpose, of course. But it didn't matter. It did not matter because you didn't think you were enough. You didn't think it was okay. So I'll finally get back to relationship with yourself.
Josh, even with, entering this marriage, there are going to be things that just irritate you. And I think a lot of times, so my husband and I have been married almost 23 years. We've dated 6 years. So we're going on 30 years. We were kids. We were 18 when we started to date. I think about the reoccurring things when I look back that have, it gets under your skin or that we do to each other that irritate each other. 9 times out of 10, it is not something that he's truly doing wrong. It is something that he's doing is triggered in me, but why? What from my past? Was it something that I was accused of when I was a kid, or I was expected of? You brought up lazy, Angela. We'll just take that one. So if it bothers me, if my husband wants to sit down and watch football on a Saturday afternoon and I am scrubbing toilets, I'm going to taking care of kids, I'm running to the grocery store, I'm doing this and this and that, and I am stewing inside, how, you lazy, how can you be doing this? Why do I feel the need that I have to be misproductive and do all this? Why can't I go sit down on the couch with him? He's not being lazy, but what is it in me that I have to prove? Did maybe I grow up in a household where it was relaxing was a sin? Like, how dare you sit down? You need to be this workaholic and boom, 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 boom. So when we accuse or we're irritated with people around us, why is it irritating me? Because it's not really, truly not a fault probably in that other person. It's a fault in me. And if you don't know yourself and know that fault in you and you're not working to resolve it, then your outside relationships are going to suck. If your relationship with yourself sucks, your outside relationships will suck. It's just the way it is. And if you really be an observer and look at the relationships of other people, generally people that don't like themselves that much, their relationships reflect that. There's always drama. There's always dysfunction. There's always a problem. They're critical. They're fault finding. They're complaining about everybody. And it is draining.
Mm-hmm.
In the book, it also mentions, which I think is just going to emphasize what you guys are saying. He says that society also thinks that like the perfect match is you don't have to change for anybody. You don't have to change for them. And he says like, actually, no, like the great match is going to point out your faults, and maybe not necessarily in in a loving like way, whether it's through like a mirror, you're seeing it in yourself, or they can help you find and attack those things. And that can be one thing that's great about it. And so you started off right away, you were like, it's like a mirror. And like, that's exactly what he says too. And so,
it's interesting that we're now in marriage, because the person I was talking about that was scared to get to know himself was my husband. And I can remember feeling like a good partner when I said, it's safe for you to go learn and know yourself. I know you, even though you think you've hidden yourself from me in some ways. I've observed you because that's just my nature. And I like who you are. Like I know who you are at your core, and I like it. And even different things, like you're saying, how we can help one another is that he did struggle. His mom told him for years he was lazy, bless her. And she was doing the best she could. And so at different times he struggled saying he's lazy. And I'm like, or you're a human who wants to sit and veg out. And we've both in the idea of giving ourselves permission, sometimes when we can't do it for ourselves, it is sweet to have somebody, a strong partner that does encourage us to give ourselves permission. And he has always been so supportive of my speaking career, my book career, anything I like. He believes, of course, that I can do it. And so I think you're right, Josh, really great matches. You want to help the person become the best version of themselves, not so that your life is easier. I mean, that's nice if it if he actually takes the trash out, right, without being asked, which Josh, you've talked about that you do that. But also just because it feels really good when you can feel like I've contributed to this person's well-being. And that's like part of why we're in this relationship, is to continue to make each other better.
As you two were speaking, I did think a lot too about being authentic. And I feel, and maybe this isn't, Josh, you can say maybe this isn't more of the case for guys, but I think for females entering in a relationship, like I said, my husband and I started dating, we were 18 and 19. And how many times we self-abandon because we want to be liked, we want to be loved, we want to be all of this stuff. So it can be the simplest thing. Hey, we're getting to know each other. It's the second date. I love tacos. Do you want to go to this taco joint? Really? You hate tacos. But as that girl says, that just as in this new relationship, sure, I love tacos. Boom. She loves tacos. How many things you do in new relationships or around, even as an adult when you don't show up as who you are in truth, and everybody has this idea of who you are, and then you get married and it's, I hate tacos. Why do you keep making me go out for tacos? And you're fighting about it. You've always loved tacos. No, I don't. You don't even know who I am. It's like, how often? I mean, give you permission to be authentic, right?
And why is it not okay to say, I don't love tacos, but I'm happy to go if you love tacos? Like, you can still go with somebody who, they're not my favorite, but I'm still happy to enjoy something that you enjoy. You don't have to love everything that person loves. One of our favorite days in Paris that my husband and I had, I was going to this museum, and I'm like, there's no way you have any interest in the World War II museum, right? Like, I will just feel bad to drag you around this museum. I'm like, why don't you go do something that you want to do? He had a glorious time because he then went to the soccer stadium. I was a little bit jealous. I would have liked to have gone to the soccer stadium, but we did separate, and it's okay to have different activities that you love, and sometimes to say, not my preference, and I can still go. I don't love Thai food. I have found all Thai restaurants serve chicken fried rice. I can eat chicken fried rice. My husband wants Thai food, no problem. You don't have to be contrarian about being authentic. You can say, I don't love tacos. I'm still happy to go with you.
Right. And even with your husband, I thought, if he was always being told, you're lazy or whatever. And as a child, sure, you're going to identify as that.
Right.
But as an adult, and if you've went and you've done some inner work and you've developed that relationship for yourself, you can look at that and know, okay, I'm truly not lazy, but that person struggles relaxing. There's something in them that they feel shame or guilt or whatever it is they feel if they are ever idle. That's why they're projecting that on me. It really isn't about me. It's about you. Right. But I don't think you can get to that point until you really do like the inner work. Because again, you do that inner work. I know I'm not lazy. That's your issue. Like if your husband was dealing with that laziness, once he resolved the issue in himself, that problem of his mom saying that outer problem went away.
Well, and I literally one time had to say, give me the evidence. All right, you're on trial. Let's see. I'm the defense attorney. You're the prosecuting attorney. Give me the evidence to prove that you're lazy. And we had, like, that particular time, he had done all these things, and he actually is good at relaxing. And we still, you say the external problem goes away to a degree, yes. And we are very intentional now on our weekends. We say, okay, and I have a pretty critical voice that loves to sit in my head and tell me, I will say, oh, I'm just going to relax on Sunday. And then on Monday morning, I'm like, oh my gosh, I can't believe you didn't get all that stuff done. And it's like, okay, you can't actually relax. And so we've started doing something on Fridays where we'll say on Monday morning, what will we have accomplished over the weekend that we'll feel really good about? And we will use constraint and be realistic about what we can do. And we do those things. And then come Sunday night, if I start to spin, he goes, no. We said we were going to do X and Y, and that Z was a bonus. We didn't get to Z. So let's celebrate that we got X and Y done. And we still continue to, because it's been the grooves were so deep in both of our brains about just performing to prove that we're enough. The perfectionism was still pretty heavy. And Josh is sitting there like, y'all are really good at sitting around and doing nothing. What are you talking about? But it's the mental chatter after we sit around that is where it's not even worth it, because you didn't actually rest, because now you're going to spend a couple of days beating yourself up.
Yeah. You gave yourself permission, and then you have to give yourself permission to not beat yourself up for what you gave yourself permission for, right?
Yes.
Going back slightly, I'm going to go on the record, and I take the trash out much less often now. And I can't remember who we had on and said, you're going to stop doing that after so long. The only reason is
Ryan,
if you're listening, the only reason I don't do as much now is because she, to save some money, and because it's close to where she's working, is staying with her parents. And so it's a little different taking the trash out at the parents' house. It also isn't nearly as full as often because I'm there less and everything. But so Ryan, you haven't won yet. You haven't won yet.
Ryan's our only repeat guest. She's been on twice. She's a therapist that we talked about attachment with. But yes. Anyway,
she said that I won't be taking the trash out after like 3 or 4 months.
We'll have to check in after you guys get married.
To wrap up, Jamie, what do you want to leave our listeners with? Do you have any last comments? One last nice home run hit for everyone to listen to.
I think if we're going to wrap it up with the whole permission, and you said, no one really necessarily writes themselves permission slips, but why not get a sticky note out and write yourself some permission slips? Like, I am going to take this risk. I am going to say what needs to be said. I do have opinions. I do matter. And I'm going to throw myself out there. I think of Angela just with your books, and I even think about it with my books. Whether I am writing fiction and someone is entertained by it or they resonate it moves people. And what ripple effect you have if one person listens to this podcast and tells someone else and things resonate. I feel we have to trust ourselves more and respect ourselves more. And when we develop that relationship, we just live a more fulfilled, joyful life. And isn't that the point?
I think that's really good. I don't really have any follow-up because I think that's a good spot to end it.
I do. I would love it if people want to send me a picture of their permission slip. You can find me on Instagram at Angela Belford, and I'll be happy to share it with Jamie as well. You can probably send it to both of us. Jamie, where can we find you online?
JamieBerris.com is my website. I am on Instagram at Jamie Berris. I am on Facebook. I don't do a whole lot on there. I do have on my website, there's links to my membership, which are those weekly live coaching calls. I do one-on-one coaching, and my 2 fiction books, Us Three and Whispering Waves. It's not a life coaching type thing, but it is real life family saga, drama, friendship. Sold on Amazon. And Instagram, it make me laugh because I had a client the other day during our session had sticky notes all over the place. She was at work, and I just talked to her again yesterday. I said, hey, do you mind if I maybe post that picture of all of your sticky notes? It's the best because we really actually should write ourselves permission slips. So yeah, I'm a quote junkie. You'll see all that stuff on Instagram.
Excellent.
Jamie, thanks so much for joining us. I think you've listened to more episodes than any other guest, especially going into it. And so it was cool having you reference all of our different episodes. I was like, oh yeah, we did talk about that, didn't we?
See, you make a difference in people's lives. You do.
Thanks.
Well, this is episode 39, so we're really proud of ourselves to be continuing, coming up on a year here in a couple of months.
Angela really, really, really wants to get to 100. She basically got challenged. Some guy says it's really hard to get to 100 episodes, or like no one ever lasts after 100 episodes, and so she took that as like a personal challenge that then she is now dragging me along in. No, I'm just kidding.
Fun fact about that. I actually got an email. It's from author John Acuff. His new book just launched. If you haven't read his book Soundtracks, he just has a new one that he wrote with his 2 daughters called Your Playlist. Crap, it just came in the mail yesterday. I apologize. Anyway, I got an email from his team, and he is including my story in his book that will be out in 2023. And I said, yes, you can include my story. They asked permission. Yes, you can include my story. I want him to come on my podcast. And they said he's real busy with the book launch. So we'll see. But that's his deal, is he won't go on a podcast that has less than 100 episodes. We'll see. Anyway. Absolutely. We do want to keep helping people and exposing people to ideas that maybe they haven't thought about before. So thanks, Jamie, for being here today.
Absolutely.
Yeah, thanks for joining us. Angela, thanks for joining me like you do on every episode since you are my guest. And everyone, thanks for listening to the Be Freaking Awesome podcast.
Thank you so much for being here as we kick off this podcast together. I really appreciate you joining me on this journey because I'm well aware you could be doing or listening to anything right now. Hey, if you enjoy the Authentically Raw content, please support the show by following, rating, and reviewing on Apple Podcasts or wherever you listen. You can also follow me on social media for daily inspiration. Head over to my website, jamieberris.com, to sign up for weekly transformation tips, Or if you're interested in coaching, I currently have 3 openings for one-on-one coaching. If you're looking for an empowering community, we'd love for you to join us in the Transformation Tribe, our group coaching membership. More info available on my website under the Life Coaching and Membership tabs. One last thing, I'm rooting for you. Be real, be raw, be authentic.